Alright, welcome back everyone. Before I get into this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not going to hold a gun to your head and tell you you need to subscribe, because I'm a nice guy. But go ahead and leave a comment. I don't care what it is. You could say something like,
Miles per hour, your channel sucks. Horrible content. You're such a piece of shit.
Or you could say something like,
Lol, HUMBL is a joke, dude. Such a trash stock, man. Short it into the dirt.
Or you could be one of those people that only knows how to speak in rocket emojis. Whatever your thing is, I won't judge you. But if you guys could at least leave a comment, I'll be sure to give you absolutely nothing in return. Except continuing my top tier awesome content, of course. Alright, jokes aside, I have two major updates for you guys, and what we can expect to see from the stock this year. Actually, I take that back. This will be more like 3 updates, because I'd also like to talk about the recent interview with HUMBL's CEO, Brian Foote, on Fox Business. So when it comes to HUMBL as of recently, this is a stock that, let's be honest, has not been afraid to punish you for holding it. We hit below $1 around May 20th, and since then, the stock has slowly been on a recovery. And I don't know guys, I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic about this recovery. Since the recent low, the stock has more than doubled up in price. So if you were actually able to snag some more shares of HUMBL while it was under $1, congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back and relax, cause you done good. But all that aside, let's get into the 2 most recent updates from HUMBL. First, I'd like to discuss the 2 recent updates with the company, and then I'll get into the interview with Brian Foote. And lastly, we'll get into HUMBL's current short interest and some price predictions of where I could potentially see HUMBL going this year. So for the first update, HUMBL finally completed the Tickeri acquisition, which if you don't know, Tickeri is a leading Latin-focused ticketing platform that was paid for with a mix of debt and common stock from HUMBL for a total of $20 million. Which for reference could buy you this extremely overpriced mansion in Los Angeles. And the idea behind this acquisition being that HUMBL will be working to deliver ticketing, peer-to-peer transactions, and mobile pay services to Latin American customers, fitting themselves seamlessly across the existing Tickeri platform, which will set themselves up pretty nicely for mutual international expansion. And according to Brian Foote,
There is an exciting convergence underway across mobile pay, ticketing, and NFTs on blockchain. Tickeri has created an outstanding technology platform and loyal audience with whom we are excited to grow together as brands.
Tickeri joining the HUMBL family provides an opportunity to combine the transactional technology of ticketing with HUMBL's thesis of using blockchain to bring value to individuals, creators, and merchants across the globe. And the cool thing with this whole transaction is that Tickeri will continue to operate in its existing brand and service corridors, while partnering with HUMBL's ticketing on broader expansion plans across the primary and secondary ticketing markets. So for Tickeri, I'm not going to go too much more in depth than that, other than it's just really awesome to see that these deals are not only getting started, but they're making their way to full completion. I mean, Tickeri is such a huge partner for HUMBL. Tickeri is actually one of the only event ticketing companies to focus on the Latin market, and they actually offer some pretty advanced features like real-time reporting, analytics, box office tools, and a marketing platform with over 5,000 locations and operators. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. And for the next update that was announced on June 2nd, HUMBL said that it will retain the agency Athletes First as a strategic consultant to focus on the development of new business verticals in such areas as non-fungible tokens, NFTs, digital media, and ticketing. So Athletes First is a leading sports agency with decades of history representing top NFL players, coaches, executives, and broadcasters. And if you've been following HUMBL up until this point, you'll know that their goal is to focus on the photography of famous sports athletes that they will then be able to sell back into the NFT marketplace. Athletes' first goal is to support HUMBL in delivering elite, white glove service for a select group of A-list sports and entertainment talent, with an initial focus on creating highly curated NFT galleries alongside Emmy-nominated creative house Goat Farm Media. Athletes First will also provide HUMBL with instructions in the ticketing industry, marketing, and promotional support, as well as access to Athletes First digital content library. And again, this is super cool to see. I feel like by this point, it should be obvious that HUMBL is dedicating and investing a lot of their time and money into these acquisitions and partners that, in my opinion, are going to reward HUMBL very nicely in the future. We are in the midst of watching HUMBL build out their brand before they establish themselves as a top player in the digital age. Alright, let's get into the recent interview that Brian Foote did on Fox Business. I'm not going to play the interview, as I just want to go over some of the key highlights that Brian said, but if you actually want to watch the interview, it's pretty easy to find. So the following I'm about to read off is what I found to be the key takeaways from Brian's interview. HUMBL is a platform, not just a payment services company. Their goal is to provide a continuum of services that would allow users to consolidate the myriad of apps they already have on their phone into a single experience. Next, HUMBL doesn't intend to be the PayPal of digital wallets. HUMBL is setting out to be the next Amazon of digital assets. Hence, going back to this idea that HUMBL isn't just a payment service app. It's an entire ecosystem to house digital assets. And to continue, HUMBL isn't just blindly making these business and acquisition decisions because it's trendy. According to Brian Foote, HUMBL has been looking back at history and really understanding the companies that were prominent during the era of Web 1 and the era we are currently in, Web 2, as they look further into the era of Web 3. They are methodically choosing their partners and focusing heavily on the blockchain tokenization of assets, which is a key component in the idea of Web3 technologies. And finally, I want to get into the last thing that interviewer Charles Payne asked Brian Foote. The interviewer mentioned how people really believe in HUMBL, alluding to how HUMBL rallied 1,000% out the gate earlier this year. It's pulled back since then, the shorts have piled on, and as you can imagine, Brian is carrying a lot of weight on his shoulders. The interviewer then asked Brian what he wants to say to all the shareholders of HUMBL who put everything they had into his idea. And honestly, I thought Brian's response was honest and genuine. The interviewer Charles, in my opinion, did a really good job of disarming Brian, so much so that Brian was actually able to give back extremely honest answers. Brian basically said, "Look, I'm human. Of course I get nervous about executing for everyone." He then alluded to the fact that they have a fantastic team and are very well capitalized. And get this, even though HUMBL went up 1,000% this year, Brian didn't sell a single share of his stock. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic interview that I honestly urge you guys to check out if you're interested in exactly what he had to say. And lastly, I want to talk about where HUMBL stock goes from here. So get this. The short interest in HUMBL right now is currently sitting at around 42%. Now, that is insanely huge, but overall, the short interest has actually gone down for HUMBL, as it used to be a little over 50%, believe it or not. But man, HUMBL seems to be on a comeback right now, and the more the stock continues to push up, the more the shorts will have to cover their positions. And overall, I can definitely see HUMBL hitting at least $4 this year. But who knows? If all goes well, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go even higher than that. I consider $4 to be a pretty conservative estimate for HUMBL. But yeah, that's the video I've got for you guys today. HUMBL's doing some pretty exciting stuff, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out over the next year. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.